So, welcome to another Faith Horizons podcast. Today, I'm here with Dennis Wiens and John Losh again. John Losh is back.
Yep.
Anyway,
just when you thought it was safe to go to listen to the podcast, I'm back.
Anyway, so today you invited another guest on,
Yep.
and this is Dennis Wiens.
Right.
So, can you introduce Dennis Wiens?
Yeah,
for us?
Dennis and I have been friends for many years. We met
wow.
through a men's group that is called TGIW, Teaching God's Infinite Wisdom.
I've heard
it's
about
part
this
of a
place.
ministry called Character That Counts. It's run by a guy named Rod Hanley. Here in Kansas City, and they have a group that meets in Parkville, Missouri, Lee Summit, Missouri, Overland Park, Kansas, and it's just basically, guys getting together for coffee and donuts and hearing a gospel presentation every Wednesday morning.
And I'll be sending that organization a bill for that
that
nice little drop that you just did for
that shameless plug. So anyway, we met through that. I had him on my Fulfill Your Ministry radio show on Kearney Community Radio. My church supported he and his family when they did 27 years of global ministry in Mali, Africa.
That's right.
And then
cool.
when he joined SAT7 in 2003, and then he was also on my Men in the Potter's Hands podcast.
That's so cool.
And now he's, again, like many others that have gone down that path, he's now on this podcast.
Yep.
And I knew, again, he'd be a great person to interview because he's always been a great interview before. And we have, great chemistry. And, he's another guy that's out there making a difference for the gospel that happens to live here locally, and but is making a global impact.
So
That's
John,
great.
Thank you for inviting me to come on this amazing
you're
podcast.
welcome. No problem.
Yeah, thank you so much. So Dennis Wiens, so we're basically interviewing you about today. You have an or a podcast called the Unconventional Ministry Podcast.
Right.
Can you just tell us a little bit about Unconventional Ministry Podcast? What is the objective of that?
Well, in my work with SAT7 on the SAT7 USA development team, I traveled a lot. And as I traveled across North America, speaking in churches, conferences, I'd always hear incredible stories of people doing incredible ministry in their local church or just outside of their local church for their communities. And yet a lot of times they weren't part of the funding from the local church. And so I was just interested in telling their stories.
So these are organizations that are operating outside of local churches that you're running across as you're working with SAT7.
Yeah, so one fellow called me from Seattle, and when he put his kids in Christian school, the school was maxed out, and they didn't have a board that really thought about capital investment and stuff, and so they wanted him to help, and he's an attorney. He had a lot of background in capital fundraising, and so in 90 days, he raised $5 million.
Oh, my gosh.
He can lower a Christian school, you have to be a nonprofit, he can lower their mortgage payment by up to 60%.
Wow.
And so, I told him he's in finance. I don't even know what question to ask him. He says, well, just ask me. I said, well, I can talk about biblical stewardship and stewarding and managing assets. He said, that's my heart.
Uh-huh.
And so...
So that was somebody. Those are the people that you're interviewing.
Yeah, so
these people.
He's pretty well known attorney in Seattle that started this 18 years ago. But there's others.
Yeah, give us some more examples. Yeah.
One was a gal in California. Their son ended up with a brain tumor. They traveled the country. This terminal diagnosis for a 12-year-old, and after about 2 years, he passed away. Well, when a child has a terminal diagnosis, I think it's about 75 to 80% of the parents separate or divorce within a year.
Wow.
They were determined, because they're people of faith, they were determined that wouldn't happen to them. So they put together a foundation to help people, families, couples that have a terminal diagnosis of a child. And they've helped, when we did the podcast, they've helped 1,000 families. Not one had separated or divorced.
Oh, that's incredible. What a ministry. You know?
So I hear these stories, and so that's the stories I want to tell on the Unconventional Ministry podcast.
So how many episodes do you have out? Because I think it started in January
2023, just a few months before I started Men in the Potter's Hands. And they're now, his last episode just seven days ago was number 197.
How 197?
And I thought, I do this for a year, and when I run out of stories, I'd quit. But when you're praying about your next podcast episode, there aren't. I mean, there's an unlimited number of
exactly
unconventional.
You're never going to run out of stories, and you never run out of stories in God's kingdom. It just doesn't happen.
So many stories, and so some people have written books. We talk about their book. Other people are just unknown, sitting in the pew doing incredible things. They don't have a national audience, but they're making a difference. So a lot of variety. So go to Unconventional Ministry podcast. It's on multiple platforms. And listen to it, and if it touches you, it means something to you, make a comment how that podcast episode touched you, and then share it with your friends.
That's so great, yeah.
Help.
Yeah, it's on Podbean, it's on sat7usa.org, podcast.eternityready.com, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podimo, b.thechurch.digital, Apple Podcasts, and Facebook.
In a recent episode, it was our couple from Beirut, Lebanon.
Oh, wow.
And we first met her when she was 10 years old. As a child, she was talented, did music on Sat7 Kids satellite TV channel. Mm-hmm. And, of course, now she's grown. And her husband, he used to manage or produce Africa Got Talent.
Oh, wow.
TV show. And he's left that. They're both in ministry. They could have left Beirut, but they chose to stay because God put this calling. And today, they're both talented, both in music, produce their own content. If she needs a song for Sat7 Kids or a program, she just writes it and produces it for that week's program.
That's so great, yeah.
So they were on as a couple.
Yeah.
And they've gone through some struggles, but they live that on screen for our satellite ministry. So families across the Middle East can see what a biblical marriage is, can see what a biblical family is, and they work through their problems in a very transparent way and share it on screen, and they have an incredible ministry. Yeah. And so they were my guest a couple weeks ago.
Well, that's great, and we're gonna just take and pay attention to some of the artwork around here.
Oh yeah, so we got several pieces here. We just got our new balloon painting over there.
Hot air balloon, yep.
By Julie Del Otterness.
Julia
Del Otterness. She's done several pieces here in our interview area here.
Yeah, all of the artwork in this studio is current. Well, other than the ones that are not off camera, are done by Julia Del Otterness, and obviously these two are just prints.
Yeah.
But but the artwork is by Julia Del, and then that is a print of artwork that she did do, but. And I think that it's just you go to juliadell.com and you can actually buy artwork from Julia.
Nice.
And she's been able to provide it, and I offer her a small service to come in here and take pictures if she wants to of her artwork. And so it's kind of a nice exchange. Anyway, I just wanted to bring attention that this is the first time we have the balloon in here, and we actually own that one. We're not just it's not on loan from Julia.
Very good.
Yeah. Anyway, so you've said a lot about Sat7. So can you just tell us about what is Sat7?
Well, Sat7 is a Middle East and North Africa broadcast media ministry that started 30 years ago. And as you look at the Middle East in global missions, the Middle East needed a different approach, a different narrative. And so the founder, Dr. Terence Ascott, from the UK, but he was working in the Middle East, put together a group in this idea of using satellite TV.
Oh, wow.
And so they leased time on a European satellite and put up 2 hours. And everybody said it was crazy to put Christians on satellite TV, and so the second week they couldn't produce another 2 hours, so they repeated the first week's broadcast. But in the last 30 years, we've been growing aggressively ever since. We started with one Arabic channel, and then in that first 2 hour broadcast, 15 minutes were dedicated to children's broadcasting, children's content, and allowing youth and children to produce programs for their peers. As Sat7 has grown, they've maintained that. So after a few years of 24/7 programming, we launched Sat7 Kids, which is an Arabic language satellite TV channel, and now it's on the Egyptian satellite, Nilesat. And then we begin to grow again, and so we brought Iranian Christian Broadcasting under the Sat7 umbrella, and it's Sat7 Pars, P-A-R-S.
Wow.
And it's a Farsi language channel, and it's on an Iranian-owned satellite, Yasat. So we do programming in Farsi for Iran, Afghanistan, Tajikistan. We also do Dari programming for Afghanistan, and we're doing some Tajik for Tajikistan. And then we're on the government satellite of Turkey, Turksat, and we just had a 10-year license, and we're renewing that license now. And there's a lot of compliance issues to be on these satellites, but the ministry has never denied its faith.
Oh, wow.
It never denied its Christian worldview, even though there's a lot of compliance. And so we're not a Western ministry, we're a Middle Eastern ministry. We want the church in the Middle East to make their claim to a biblical Christianity in a culturally relevant and appropriate and positive way. So we don't get into on-air comparisons, or we don't attack, we don't expose. That's not our mission. We're simply there to declare the truth of the gospel. So a message of God's unconditional love, a message of God's forgiveness, a message of hope and purpose and meaning and significance. These are themes that are magnets for people. Everybody's searching for meaning and purpose. People are disillusioned. Their promises haven't worked out, and they're looking for something different. And so we can bring the hope of the gospel. Now we're into social media. We have an app, and all of our content on the satellites is streaming live on Sat7 Plus. It's SAT 7 PLUS. It's in an app store. It's free. And Bedouins in Jordan, I understand, they used to herd their flocks where there's water. Now they say that they herd their flocks where there's cell coverage, so they can check Facebook and Instagram. And trucks bring water to the flocks now, so even the Bedouins of the Middle East are getting on social media. And so we're doing a lot of social media, live social media, Facebook, Instagram, in multiple different languages. And then, of course, we have the app, so there's global distribution, because we want to make the gospel available to everybody in the Middle East.
That's so good, yeah. So the SAT obviously stands for satellite.
Yes, satellite, and then 7 is a good number.
Yeah.
For us Christians, but it's a good number also in across the Middle East and North Africa. So it's, wholeness, completeness, just a good number.
Wow.
So Sat7, it's not 7 channels, it's not 7 continents, it's just a logo that represents this Christian media.
Oh, wow.
And we're so recognized across the Middle East and North Africa, like we're a brand of media. So they see our logo, they know exactly what the content is.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah. Wow. I didn't have any idea that you were on so many different languages already. That's quite a undertaking to do that. So
for example, in our social media, we do live Arabic worship on the weekend.
Oh, wow.
And it's live Facebook. And I understand one country in North Africa, during that worship time, there'll be 153,000 live on that Arabic Facebook live feed.
Oh, wow.
And then we're doing the same thing on the weekend for Dari, for Farsi, church for kids, church for Iran, church for Afghanistan. We're doing a Dari on social media. Just hundreds of thousands of people join in on those live feeds.
So going back to the Unconventional Ministry podcast. So you have this podcast, but then through that podcast, you also bring awareness to Sat7.
Yeah, right? Sat7 USA is my sponsor, and I've worked for them for 23 years, and it's part of the development, building awareness to Sat7.
Yeah.
As I travel, even now after all these years, I go to church and they've never heard of Sat7. I meet a business, Christian business owner,
and they've never heard of them. I had never heard of them before today. So
that proves my point. So
and I live in Kansas City.
So
and you're in Kansas
doing the
City,
podcast, we do all kinds of stuff. We attend conferences. We speak in churches, and so one way you can really help Sat7 is to get on social media. So I invite you to go to SAT7USA.org and go to the bottom of the page, and there are social media icons like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Get on those, look at some content, and read some of the stories, amazing stories of what God's doing.
Can people actually just share your page, just share the page itself, right?
Yeah, share, make a comment, share. That's a great way to help.
That kind of helps you. That helps you get into their streams,
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, so good. Yeah,
and we want to give a shout out to your wife Cindy, and your daughters Brooke and Brendan.
Yeah,
and Brendan is about to be married.
Yes,
oh, wow.
And runs the ministry of Echo Range Bible Camp.
That's right.
Up in Juneau, Alaska. Yeah.
And my wife Cindy, now that she's retired, I'm retired but working half time, and many weeks it's full time. But Cindy's got into a ministry of Thrive Ministry that does retreats for American women doing global ministry around the world. So she'll go to Sicily, she'll go to Phuket, Thailand, or South Africa, and she's part of about 30 volunteers that come in, and then they host about 100 global women workers working with the church around the world.
That's
they
crazy.
come in for 4 days, and they come in tired and defeated, and they leave thriving again.
That's so good.
So now she's the jet setter, and you're the stay-at-home guy.
Yeah, so for my career, she always took me to the airport, and then she'd go back home. Now I take her to the airport, and I go back
you
home.
switch roles.
Well, it's so great to get to know you, Dennis Wiens, and we'll look forward to. I'll make sure that we post all the information on our podcast channel. I'm sure there's more than enough stories we could talk about on
There's
this.
a lot of stories, and as people are listening to the news,
Yeah.
what I find as I speak in churches, that people are subtly being drawn into a secular worldview.
Yeah.
And so many times, you mentioned we work in the Middle East, and it's so hopeless in the Middle East. Well, wherever the gospel is, there's hope.
There is hope.
And
right.
so just to remind people that, as you listen to the secular news, don't be drawn into a secular worldview, but filter the news through your biblical worldview, that wherever the gospel is, there's hope. And,
that is true.
You think of Iran, and there's hope for them. And I was speaking in church, and afterwards, Arab wanted to talk to me, and he had been an ISIS operative in Iraq, and his task was to decode what the church was doing to attack him.
Oh, wow.
And he watched TV, and during the time when they were blowing up marketplaces and women and mothers and children, and just terrible. But when he watched TV, and these Christian women had an expression on their face he had never seen.
Wow.
And they had this joy and this countenance, and it's something he'd never experienced, but he wanted what they had that produced that smile and that joy in their face.
Oh, Jesus.
So his journey to find Jesus
Wow.
didn't start with a theologian. It didn't start with literature. It was somebody's expression of hope and joy on their face that he recognized and pursued.
That's so great.
And, so the more we can show the truth of the gospel through on screen and in social media and in stories, transformation that's taking place, it's amazing what's happening today across the Middle East and North Africa, and across so many of these countries we see in the news that look hopeless. But if we can get beyond the news, there's incredible things happening.
So great. Well, thank you so much for being on our show. Do you have anything else, John?
No, I think that's about it.
All right. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Well, thanks for having me, and check out our websites. We're telling a lot of stories in our social media posts.
Yeah.
And that's where you'll read them, and then like and share and repost. That'll really help us out.
All right. Well, thank you so much. God
Thank
bless. God bless.